So in this video, I'm going to explain to you why I've been operating my table saw without a riving knife for a solid 10 years now. So I bought this saw back in about 2012, and I've been using it almost every day since then. And I used the riving knife in the saw for about a year or two, and then I took it out, and I'm going to show you why. So as you're sending this lumber through your saw, you're cutting a kerf. And that kerf has a tendency, especially if you're cutting 2x4s, dimensional lumber that's not fully dry yet and has a lot of tension in it. Hardwoods, same issue. Plywood, not as much. On the back side of the blade, the wood has a tendency to want to pinch and bind on the blade, gets caught, and the rising teeth of the blade want to push that piece up and at you. So in the late 2000s, they started putting these riving knives on all the saws. It sits right behind the backside of the blade. It's lower than the blade, so that when you're making your kerf cut, the riving knife, or some people call them splitters, forces this kerf open so it can't pinch on the blade, preventing a lot of kickback. It's essentially a safety feature. The other purpose it serves is it prevents lumber from kicking up and being sent back to you on the back side of the blade because the teeth are not exposed here. So it prevents kickback that way as well. Now hopefully this piece of wood cooperates, and I'm going to show you why I don't have one in my saw. So if you couldn't tell from the video, I got to the point where I could no longer safely push this through the blade. It was binding and almost stalling the engine of the table saw. That's especially going to be prevalent on dimensional lumber, which still has moisture and tension in it. And it's actually binded on that on my riving knife. But I actually still have the stock blade that was in the saw, and you'll see why I have a problem. It's going to be a little hard to show up on camera, but the stock blade that came with the saw is thicker than all of the blades that you can go easily buy at the store. It's not just Diablo. Blades from Lowe's that do not say thin kerf don't work. More Diablo do not work. This really cheap blade, I don't even remember the name, doesn't work. DeWalt blades do not work. Coarse cut blades do not work. Plywood blades do not work. So what happened was the kerf that I'm creating in these boards is thinner than the riving knife. So ironically, it was creating a situation where the thin kerf was getting hung up on the thicker riving knife, creating the situation that is supposed to be designed to prevent. So as soon as I changed out the stock blade, the original riving knife stopped working. Now I know you're thinking, why didn't I just go buy a different blade? But I had already bought the new blade before I changed this one out, and I'm cheap. And at that point in my career, I was not filming or posting anything on social media. So when I took it out, I didn't have people calling me names and insinuating I didn't know what I was doing by not having it in there. I used it perfectly fine without a glitch for over 10 years and never really thought much of it, honestly. I'm also well aware of the fact that if I make a video bragging about how I haven't had an issue not using a riving knife in my saw, that I will have an accident tomorrow. So in order for people to stop leaving comments about it, the thin kerf riving knife from Grizzly, you can see this one's 2mm versus 2.5. And shame on Grizzly, because the shipping on this was almost more expensive than the riving knife. Oh, that's fun. It doesn't fit in there. There we go. And now that should solve a lot of my problems.